and it tested small firms and also the professional practice monitoring committee. So the question reads, the firm or the partners of a number of small firms, some of whom act as alternate firms to each other, were considering the outcome of some reviews by the Financial Reporting Council on some of the financial statements the firms prepared. These reviews showed significant lapses in the works they carried out and compliance failure of some appropriate standards. Some other practitioners among them also raised concerns about their future to meet most of the monitoring guidelines issued by the Professional Practice Monitoring Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. So based on this, it has become imperative that something has to be done urgently to save them from further sanctions and possible litigations. The partners of this firm have consulted, sought, and obtained approval of your firm to train them on requirements of relevant regulatory bodies as part of your firm's contribution to the accountancy profession in general. And in recognition of your firm as one of the reputable big firms, your partner has directed that you prepare and make a presentation to help improve their service delivery standards. So we are required to prepare an outline for a paper that will be used to address these practitioners on the following. A, the consequences and actions that could arise as a result of poor quality professional service delivery, 3 marks. B, the responsibilities of key quality control matters placed on the engagement partner in accordance with ISA 220 quality control for an audit of financial statements, 12 marks. So we have a 15-mark question, ladies and gentlemen. And the question actually tests, is a direct test actually of a candidate's knowledge of audit quality control, the former one, which is the revised quality management under the ISA 220 revised. And the scenario provides a practical backdrop of small firms facing quality related issues, making the theoretical question actually very highly relevant. So let's go to the examiner's report to see what the examiners or the examiner said based on students' performance. All right, so the examiner's report stated that the question was widely attempted and performance was above average. Okay, but a common weakness was the inability to explain the specific quality control matters as per ISA 220. And it suggests that while candidates have a general understanding of quality, they lacked the detailed standard specific knowledge required for full marks. I'm sure especially for the 12-mark question. So please take note of this examiner's report so that you will be able to understand how to attack such questions and avoid the pitfalls. Okay, so don't forget our strategies are generally around what to and how to write. So for the part A, looking at the solution, how do we write this solution? Talking about consequences of poor service delivery, which is 3 marks. So what do we write? We need to write the consequences that can both, the consequences that are both legal and professional. We are to list specific outcomes like legal action, loss of clients, damage to the firm's reputation, and disciplinary proceedings from a professional body like ICAN. So those are the consequences and what to write around this kind of question. So the consequences of poor quality service delivery revolves around legal action, 1, loss of clients, 2, damage to the firm's reputation, and disciplinary proceedings from a professional body like ICAN. So how do you write such thoughts? Use a concise, as I always advocate, a concise and a bullet list. So each point should be a clear and distinct consequence. So for a 3-mark question, I think 3 or 4 well-explained points are sufficient for such a question. So that's for the A part. Then for the B part, the responsibilities of the partner under ISA 220, and that is 12 marks. Yes, please. Somebody is trying to interject.
Yeah, sorry, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
Are you going to write a note on this point? Legal action and legal cause, the loss of the client? Are you writing a note on it?
Well, it looks like listing here, but then a short sentence phrase, since it's just a 3-mark. So if you say legal action and legal cost with the apostrophe, you can just go with a 1 or 2-line sentenced explanation of legal action and legal cost. But you can see the examiner just listed. But I'll suggest, though under exam condition, these 3 lists should suffice, but I'll be able to write legal action and legal cost, then explain based on the case in 2 lines. So depending on how it resonates with you, I will not be too comfortable if I were to write this with a list like this. I'll explain it at least, a 1 or 2-line item on each of these points. But whichever resonates with you, if the examiner provided it like this, then I think it's sufficient for a 3-mark question.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for that engagement. Then the second part talks about ISA 220, and I didn't update it with ISA revised so that you can see how ISA 220 is, and the ISA 220 revised also. So I left this solution unupdated so that you can see the former ISA 220 on quality control and also the current ISA 220 revised that has been updated. But I noticed in the new study text that ISA 220 revised was not in the study text. It was just ISA 220. If you read the study text that was updated, they didn't update ISA 220 revised. So I don't think you'll be penalized if you update your answers with ISA 220 revised, because the study text did not update ISA 220. It's still on ISA 220, and the ISQM one is actually updated on the study text. But then it's the same standard. One just metamorphoses or gravitates towards risk-based approach, and the former one was more of a quality control and a reactive kind of standard. But then whichever one you want to use for the exams is fine. I'm not skeptical that you'll be penalized if you update your answers with ISA 220 revised. So take note of that as you read this current study text, please. Read in between the lines. It was not updated with ISA 220 revised. Okay, so going to this answer, speaking to this answer for the B part, which carried a chunk of the marks, which is 12 marks. You need to, in writing, what to write, because this 12 marks is the core of the question. You need to outline the specific quality control responsibilities of the engagement partner. And the responsibilities include ensuring compliance with ethical standards, managing independence, overseeing engagement acceptance and continuance, ensuring that the team has the right capabilities, and also proper management of the engagement, speaking to direction, supervision, review, and also consultation on contentious matters. These are all responsibilities of the engagement partner, and proper documentation is his responsibility. Also, those are what you should write. Your thoughts should center around that. And how to write, you need to structure your answer as a detailed, numbered, or bulleted list, like you see the examiner has provided. So it's detailed because it's 12 marks. You should aim for at least 10 to 12 distinct, well-explained points. So for each point, state the partner's responsibility, and if possible, a brief explanation of what it entails. So for example, for engagement performance, you need to mention the need for direction, for supervision and review of the work. So the solution is a perfect roadmap. Please go through it and provide context based on this. The solution has given us more than about 12. gave us about 12. So your thoughts should center around that. So you should aim for at least 10 to 12 distinct, well-explained points. The solution gave us 12. So please, around 10, at least if you can clinch 10 to 12 marks with the 3 marks in the first question, you are close to 15, which is a superior achievement or a distinction in those points. All right, so generally, you need to strategize to answer such questions to earn the maximum marks. So try to be specific to the standard. The question explicitly asks for requirements of ISA 220. So whichever one, 220 or 220 revised, simply listing general responsibilities without reference to the standards will not suffice. So you must use the professional terminology of the standard, like ethical standards, independent requirements, engagement quality management or quality control review, documentation. So that those are terms that resonate with ISA 220. So please use those terms very, very practically, so that you don't allow the examiner reading between the lines. Once he sees some terms, he just marks you and you go. Also, structure is the key in answering such a question. For a question with multiple parts. Yes, please. Yes, please.
I did not get that. The one that you said the resonance with IS 220. How does think that?
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I did not get that. You just state it now. I'm trying to look at the solution. I'm not picking it there. You said resonance with the IS 220.
Okay, so the current ISQC 1 has been phased out. So ISQC 1 is replaced with ISQM 1 and 2. But in the study text, I was saying that I still saw ISA 220. There was no ISA 220 revised in the study text. So I don't know whether they made a mistake. They didn't update that in the current study text. I was going through it. And that was why I left this question like this. But I was saying it shouldn't be an issue, because currently the standard that is in place is ISA 220 revised. So maybe the committee forgot to update it. But I don't think it's a major omission. So I left this ISA 220. There are no much dichotomies between both ISA 220 and ISA 220 revised. The only difference is that the ISA 220 revised has been updated to be more risk-based and it's more proactive, while ISA 220 was more of a reaction or a reactive-based standard. So whichever one you present in your answer, if the examiner says ISA 220, is fine. But if you present the contents of ISA 220 revised, there are no much differences. It's almost the same thing. So that's why I'm saying that you need to be specific on the standard. If you are saying ISA 220 or ISA 220 revised, let the terminologies of those standards be imprinted on your thoughts. Imprint them on your thoughts or on your paper. Yes, please.
So if I can get you said IS 220 revised is not stated in the test. So how do we get that?
Yes, it's not in the study text. If you read the study text, you will see it is not in the current study text. It's ISA 220 that is still there.
Okay. So we don't need a...
Okay, you don't need the revised. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we don't need the revised as long as it's not in your test. You shouldn't bother with the revised.
Well,
you get it from your head. Maybe ACCA pack or something. If it's not in their pack, I think about that. The revised.
Yes, but ACCA current study text has it as ISA 220 revised. But then we are not writing ACCA anyway, so we are writing ICAN. I think we should stick to ISA 220. It's fine then. It's fine. There are no major differences in the standards, both of them. Okay. Appreciate the engagement. I appreciate it. You still have some thoughts? Please go ahead and share freely.
No, I'm fine. I'm cool. It's okay.
Okay. That's fine. All right. So I was saying that the next strategy is your structure. Like a question with these double parts and a significant number of points required for this second part. Logical structure is very essential. So using headers, bullet points makes your answer easy for the examiner to read and grade. Your structure is key. So please follow the examiner's structure as he has provided very, very clearly. Also, you need to show application. The question is largely theoretical, I think, in my opinion, but a brief reference to the scenario, talking about small firms, professional practice monitoring committee, in your introduction or conclusion can demonstrate that you understand the context of the question. So show a little bit of application, please, to the case. And let's look at the marking key. And okay, so the marking key now for the part A is 3 marks. So 1 point for any valid consequence. So this means you need to provide at least 3 distinct consequences to get full marks, not 4. The solution gave us 4 points, and they are all excellent. You can leave that fourth one as a buffer. If you write 4, it's fine. Your best 3 will be given, and to cover the required ground. Then for the B part, which is 12 marks, this is the highest marked section actually, and the guide allocates 1 mark for any 12 points. So this is a clear instruction that you need to be comprehensive and provide at least 12 distinct responsibilities. You see the solution lists a variety of points covering the key areas of the standard, from ethical matters to documentation and the engagement quality review. So to get full marks, you should not only name the responsibility, but also provide a brief explanation of what it entails, as actually shown in the solution sub-points. So please, let's follow the roadmap the examiner has given as we are reading to, please read the study text also. If you need summary, you can now go through the slides, but the study text, the current one, has the updated content. So please read the study text as you are practicing your past questions or these questions that relate to this chapter practically. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of that question, that 15-mark question. Any questions? And I appreciate Mike for the engagement. Please engage freely, interject, stop me like Mike has been doing. You have a thought that struck. The thought strikes, please clarify it and make sure as you are taking note of these things, you don't have issues with any challenge, or you don't have challenges with reading or clarification. So any question, please, or clarification based on this question? All right, I believe is clear and succinct. Okay, so let's go to the next question, or the last question for this practice management, and that was in November 2024. And question 4 was on Demi Global Limited and engagement letter. So let's speak to this question. Question reads, you have just been introduced to the GM, finance and admin of your firm's new audit client. The client is a newly established company involved in using drones to deliver parcels to various customers in Lagos. Your partner and the managing director have discussed the details of the respective responsibilities of the two parties at a previous meeting. However, the GM wants to have an insight into the contractual obligations of your firm as the company's auditors and that of the company itself. To create a mutual confidence in or at this initial stage, you assured the GM that your firm's engagement letter will address his concerns of this requirement. He has, however, asked for another brief meeting for further interactions before the commencement of the audit. You are therefore reviewing and familiarizing yourself on the contents of the engagement letter, drone technology and robotic process automation. Question required. A. Explain the expected contents of the engagement letter in terms of the requirements of the standards, and after considering the information provided in the above scenario, your response should be sufficient to demonstrate your thorough understanding of your responsibility to the client. 8 marks. So this A part was expunged to respond to our issue on the contents of an engagement letter, but the B part has more of robotic process automation, RPA. So it's not in this topic. That's why we didn't bring the B part here. But this A part is a practical question that tests practice management and the engagement letter. And that is why we needed to look at it. So it's just a 1 mark or a 1 part question, which is 8 marks. And we need to understand how to address an engagement letter question. So it's a modern take, I think, on the fundamental topic, which is the engagement letter. And it places us in a practical scenario involving a new technology-driven client speaking to Demi Global, a drone technology or drone delivery company. And it requires more than a standard boilerplate answer. What do I mean by standard boilerplate answer? You can't just regurgitate the content of an engagement letter and pour it down. It has to gravitate towards Demi Global. So if you do a standard boilerplate answer, it may not address the concerns of this particular client. So the key is to demonstrate how the content of a standard engagement letter as per ISA 210 will be tailored to the specific context of a new high-tech client. So take note of this, a new high-tech client. All right, so let's look at the examiner's report on the A part. Okay, so the examiner's report indicates that while the question was well attempted, candidates struggled with the evaluation aspect, suggesting, okay, so the evaluation aspect is the B part, not the A part, and suggesting a need to apply the standard to the scenario. Then, okay, no, the evaluation aspect is the A part. Yeah, the response should, okay, no, not the A part, maybe the B part. But the examiner also said candidates are advised to be familiar with the contents. Okay, so I think instead of listing this, just listing the contents of an engagement letter, the application to the standard or to the scenario with the standard ISA 210 is where candidates had challenge. All right. So let's speak to the question, which is a whopping 8 marks question. Okay, so in addressing such a question, what do we write? I think the answer should be structured like the examiner did in 2 parts, reflecting the mandatory and optional contents of an engagement letter. So we have 2 contents of an engagement letter as the solution has provided, and also from our lectures. The mandatory content talks about the core elements required by ISA 210, such as the objective and scope of the audit, the responsibility of both the auditor and management, then the reporting framework and the expected form of the audit report. Those are mandatory contents. So the objective and scope, don't forget, the responsibility of both the auditor and management, the financial reporting framework used, and also the output, which is the expected form of the audit report. So those are the mandatory contents that must be in an engagement letter. Then for the scenario-specific considerations for this high-tech client, this is where you demonstrate your ability to apply knowledge. So you must tailor the letter's content to this client, Demi Global Limited, which includes mentioning the use of drone technology and, if possible, robotic process automation, and the need for the audit to cover these new systems. You also need to clarify the responsibilities of management regarding the new technology, including providing access to data and systems. You need to also highlight that the audit will require a deep understanding of the client's new business model and the associated risks. Also, explicitly, you need to mention that the inherent limitations of the audit are particularly relevant due to the new and complex technology. So these are application-based answers that needs to be penned down. Take note of them. So how do you write? Please use clear or use a clear 2-part structure, as you can see on the examiner's solution. So for example, standard and mandatory content, then also scenario specific or additional content could be your headers. So use bullet points for each content element. Then for the scenario specific part, ensure each point directly references drones, robotic process automation, or new technology, or tech savviness or something, to show that you have integrated the case study with your answer. That would earn you the marks maximally. So please go ahead to practice with this kind of questions so that that application part is nipped in the board. You don't have issues with the application. So please go through the solution, read through it line by line, so that when you are practicing, you'll be able to provide your thoughts in alignment
Yes,
with what the... Yes, please. Yes, please.
From the response, from the answer from the examiner, there is no, I'm trying to check if there's any way it was the application of the robotic into the cancer. There's no, both the parts A and part B side of it, there's no applicable uh, form into the scenario. The question that was answered, the solution to it.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to the fore. You see that the engagement letter must include the reference A part. And for the B part, I think I skipped the B part because there is A, but there is no B. Okay. Thank you for that. There's a B part that references. So this A part now, we're a list of the engagement letter, the compulsory or mandatory content. And the B part has... Okay, so I'll update this solution. I'll go back to it and update it. I think it's missing the B part. So pardon me, it's missing the B part. Thank you for calling my